Very happy to welcome Bruce Arnold to the podcast. Super excited about this one as a guitarist. Bruce is a jazz guitar veteran who has been pushing the envelope for years. He started out in South Dakota and then made his way all the way to New York City, where he's gotten a chance to work with some legends, including Stanley, Clarke, Randy Brecker. He's known for mixing quite a variety of styles into his jazz, and he's actually one of the few guitarists using SuperCollider. Also, a very, very accomplished educator as well, having taught at New York University, having taught at Princeton, training some of the future generations. Also, the author of a tremendous amount of books. Bruce maybe can clear that there's some speculation. Some places say hundreds, some places say 60. So we'll get into all that as well. Bruce, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for asking me. I'm looking forward to it.
Beautiful. Bruce, you've been in this industry for a very long time. You've gone through, chances to teach at these wonderful universities and perform for, the best audiences. Being a jazz musician is a mystery, not even to people who look at jazz musicians, but also to jazz musicians themselves. Any common misconceptions about this life? Some things maybe you wish more people understood what it was like to be a jazz guitarist?
Well, I think there's so many different types of jazz out there that, some people will think that, playing jazz standards like, the Tin Pan Alley tunes that were in Broadway musicals and stuff is what jazz is. But then there's, jazz fusion. And, you have, we just talk about guitar players, people like Mike Stern and others like that are playing, more with a rock style, but also obviously can play over changes. So I think one of the misconceptions is that people don't realize that it's a very wide field and lots of different types of players. Also, there's the free improv side of it too, which I'm pretty involved in. So that's a whole nother genre within the genre. So
The are you you're talking about more 12 tone aesthetic when you talk about.
well, it could be, but for instance, I do a lot of free improv with this singer Judy Silvano. Sorry, I just played at Silvana last night, so I'm mixing up the name. Um, and her husband is Joe Lovano, so we play a lot. We just had a new CD come out, but it's all free improv stuff. And depending on the people I'm playing with, some people don't even realize that it's free improv. Like I have even the stuff with Judy, but also sorry about that. Get you back here. But also people like um, Dusan Vodanovich, who is a classical guitar player, but also plays free improv. Now, just the reason I bring him up is because, first of all, he's one of the best musicians I've ever played with, but he's written over 1,000 classical compositions for guitar. Okay. I mean, you talk to any classical guitar player, they know this guy. All right. So you start playing free improv with him. He has such a wealth of compositional ability behind him that you play free improv and it actually sounds like a piece of music, right? Because I play people the CD and the DVD that we did, and people say, "Yo, who wrote that one?"
You talk about all these different, there's sort of, I guess you could say, dichotomies of jazz when you mentioned, fusion and free music. And you've had such a, I've been following your career for quite some time. And jazz has very deep roots, and it's constantly changing. So do you think the way you sort of improvise freely would be, maybe creating something new with so much history, your approach with maybe, the 12 tone type stuff?
Oh yeah, yeah, that comes into it a lot. I recently did a CD with Gene Pritzker, who's a classical composer but also plays guitar, and we did quite a bit of 12 tone oriented stuff. I mean, my whole the music that I write is, I wouldn't say it's all 12 tone, but it's based off from that
Oh,
concept.
I know you could do anything, Bruce. Trust me.
Yeah. No, but I'm just saying some people think that, 12 tone is just one specific thing. You got to play all 12 notes before you play anything else.
Sure.
And, you can do that, but you can also, there's all these kind of other ways that you could organize it just by playing, I don't know, play six notes for a while and then play the other six notes for a while. It's not really 12 tone, but it's based off from that. Um, if you take that kind of concept and spread it out a little bit, you can come up with some very beautiful stuff that people would either that might be 12 tone or just based off from subgenres of that, can be very beautiful, because a lot of people think of 12 tone as fingernails on a chalkboard, or a cat walking across a piano keyboard. But and it can sound like that if you want, but it can sound like a lot of other things. And I think that's one thing that definitely people, even advanced musicians, don't realize how diverse you can be with that concept.
Absolutely. And let's talk a little bit about more just, the guitar in general, because like I saw a picture of you playing on a double neck guitar. I
Mhm.
first became exposed to your music watching you play in a trio video, some swing with Tony Marino. And you're so deep into the guitar. If the guitar could talk, how would the guitar describe your relationship with it, you think?
Well, sometimes it's very good and sometimes it's very bad. Depends on whether I can play what I've written. I mean, that's one of the problems is I'll write something slow, right, and I can play it. But if I need to play it fast, it's like 3 months of working on it before I can actually play it. But um, yeah, I'm to all kinds of different types of guitars too. If you looked on eBay, eBay, YouTube, you would find, I play some lap slide guitar. Actually, I'm working on a CD right now with Judy Savano where I'm playing lap slide acoustic guitar. But I'm just saying, what I'm saying is I'm into all kinds of, guitars, acoustics, steel string, nylon string. Uh, you
No,
know,
that's great. And Bruce, I also wanted to ask you, every musician has, that moment in their life where, it always starts as something either maybe our parents involve us in or something we're interested in early as a child. When was it for you that you knew there's something about this that I know I'm going to make my career in music? Did you have any specific like eye-opening moment?
well, I mean, I started off playing the accordion. So, and then the Beatles came out, and I don't know if you noticed, but they weren't playing accordions.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. So that's what, and then, my mother, I come from a fairly poor family. So my mother wasn't about to run out and buy me a guitar until I ruined all the brooms and the tennis rackets in the house playing, so anyway, so that's when she traded in the accordion for a guitar. And then in high school, but in South Dakota, you might not think there was that many great musicians, but my cousin David Wood and his friend Mike Miller, who's actually a very famous guitar player, has played with Chick Corea and all kinds of people. Those were the people I was influenced by when I was in high school, and I just thought playing music was just so much fun, and I just it was the only thing that I could think of that I liked. So that's why I decided that's what I'm going to do. And I had a lot of deficits as far as my ability, because first of all, this is back in like the early 70s, and there was no internet. Trying to learn stuff was very difficult. But anyway, I ended up at Berklee, and I just happened to show up at Berklee when just about every guitar player known on the planet was there. course, that totally flipped me out because I was like, what the hell happened here? It's like, so I just shedded for, crazy amount of time just trying to get myself up to something close to the ability that, Mike Stern, Bill Frisell, Pat Metheny. I mean, these are all the people that were around at that time. So that, that took a lot of work, but it also is one of the reasons why I've written a lot of books, because I had that problem that I couldn't get good educational material. I mean, now you can get a lot of educational material through YouTube or whatever, but I'm not saying it's all good, but you can get it. So anyway, that made me want to write books so that people in Nepal or Malaysia or whatever could study this stuff too, because I was very lucky. I've been very lucky to play with really great musicians, but I've also been very lucky to have teachers like Charlie Banacos and Jerry Bergonzi and Mick Goodrick. All those people were in the Boston area at the time that I showed up. And, that was, really made.
I mean, I know that when people got to study with Charlie Banacos, it was really, truly, truly a privilege. And when and I totally also understand what you're talking about. The environment is at Berklee. People ask me what Berklee was like, and I say, well, I went on they lock you in a room with 50 guitar players audition week. I saw what was there, and I locked myself in a room to practice for 4 years. So when you studied with Charlie at that time, when you were at Berklee, was he at Berklee at the time, or was it outside of?
No. I think he was briefly there, but mostly he wasn't. But Berklee was very influenced by him. A lot of the courses and material. I wish they were a little bit more influenced, but still, it was. Yeah, he was in a class by himself. I mean, it just.
Yeah, Charlie, he was tremendous. And what did you, if you could take one lesson from Charlie that you've carried on with you throughout your career, what would you say that would be?
I would say that was the first 5 minutes of the first lesson where he said, "You're all fucked up." Right? Now, I had been practicing 10 hours a day for a long time, right? For somebody to tell you you're doing everything wrong, that's pretty deep, you know. So yeah, I wasn't hearing correctly. I wasn't using the right techniques to hear. My um, my technique on the instrument was all messed up. Um, you know, so uh, those were the two main things. Uh, so that took years to fix. I mean, you can't just I had thousands or tens of thousands of hours of playing the wrong way and hearing the wrong way. So it took a very long time for me to stop doing what I was doing and start doing what was the right thing to do. Yeah, so that was the main thing. I mean, also just his whole way of organizing music was just fantastic, and a lot of my books are organized in that similar type of way.
Yeah, how many are there? To be exact, or around how many are there?
There's over 300.
Over 300. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. It's just some of the material, like bios or whatever. I just haven't updated them. Originally, I had around 60, but some are very involved, and some of them are just like one little concept. You know what I mean? So some books took 6 months to a year to write, and some books took a week. I
Well,
also have the ability to use SuperCollider, which if let's say I wanted a rhythm book with every possible rhythm that could be made with eighth notes, quarter notes, and rests, let's say. I could just plug that into SuperCollider and it would just print it all out for me.
yeah,
So
no, that's great. I mean, you talked about the educational component that's out there. A lot of people are have things that are accessible to them, but they may not be the best thing for them. And you also mentioned, someone across, the world who would have access to your book. And music, they say, is a universal language. That's the what's usually said.
Yeah.
Can you share a moment where, you really felt that, where whether it was at a performance or with a student or composing, recording, where you felt that way?
That I felt what way now?
That music is a universal language and you felt that truth.
Okay. Well, I usually find food is the universal language, but anyway, I
Well,
think
food's
it,
pretty good
well,
too. Food's pretty good too.
yeah, yeah. Well, actually, it could be this last festival I played in Belgrade, Serbia, was a couple weeks ago, which is a classical music festival. All right. But they have me playing with a jazz bass player because my music is based on 12 tone stuff like that. So um, I thought that was very interesting just to have an audience full of classical people in another country digging what I was doing, coming from, because a lot of it has blues in it, because if anybody knows my playing, it's all over the maps. There's like blues, there's rock, there's jazz, all that influences, but it still is speaking to them because it has because they can relate to the harmonic and melodic content because it's not just playing a blues scale or whatever. So I think that's the last thing that has happened to me where I really realized that I'm crossing across different cultures, but also different types of musicians.
No, absolutely. And have performing for an audience like that, truly is, such a wonderful opportunity. I also wanted to ask you, this came to me, if you could perform for any audience, past, present, or even fictional, like a movie character or something, who do you think that would be?
Oh, that's interesting. Um, well, this is probably not what I would really answer, but I once played a concert at an all girls high school,
Uh-huh.
and it was so fun. They thought we were like rock stars, you know what I mean? The whole audience, just like everything you played, they were just screaming like like the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan or something.
Oh, that's so funny.
It was just so funny that they would just got into this thing. I don't. It was I don't know if that would be the audience I would be looking for because I think they were just doing it to do it. But um, that was one of the funnier performances that I've had.
I mean, because I think John Coltrane would have, greatly, appreciated your playing and your approach. And, that's I thought that might have been that's what when you were going to answer that, that's what came to me.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of musicians appreciate what I do, but it's also what I do doesn't fit in with what a lot of people do. Right. So
But as long as you're doing what you want to do, that's the most
that's
important thing.
and I realized that even when I started doing this way back in the early 90s. Yeah, I'm just doing what I love to do. So, and I've just been very lucky to be able to do it.
Absolutely. And we still, you go on this journey, and there's always inspiration that comes in from a lot of different places. Are there any recordings, records, or videos that always keep inspiring you? That have been like something you've been inspired on for years and years?
Well, I started off playing blues, so Johnny Winter was very inspiring for me. Um, and then when I got into jazz, people like Wes Montgomery, but also all the musicians that were in Boston. Bill Frisell really influenced me getting into electronics, which ultimately led to SuperCollider.
Hmm.
So Mike Stern influenced me to, yes, you can continue to play your rocks and blues stuff, but you can also put that into jazz. You know what I mean? Mick Goodrick, who's just the most amazing comper or player of chords really influenced me starting to look at different ways not to play chords, not just play, the stock voicings that you'd learn at Berklee, right? So there's just a lot of musicians. Joe Lovano's been very influenced on me, just his whole approach to how to play and be open to anything. And also playing with Joe and with Judy Sylvan. Oh, sorry. Um, whatever I play, they like. Right. So getting to the point where you can just, you're playing with people that it doesn't matter what you play. They're going to like what you play, which makes, frees you up to just do whatever and be experimental. So, and I've been very lucky with having a lot of those type of musicians around me, which has made it so that I'm, just very free in what I play and what I do, which
Yeah,
is,
you're almost saying that, when you have the musician support, that it can really free you up, from maybe too much thinking or something.
yeah, yeah. Or you feel like you need to play a certain way. You know what I mean? Because I can do that. If somebody said, just play a blues solo, I could do that. Just play a jazz solo, just play a whatever, country. I played country for many years in South Dakota, so I can do that too. But and I could just do that, but I don't tend to just do that. I might play a country lick and then play a jazz thing that I think fits with that, and then play some 12-tone chord.
Yeah, and live performances, they throw things at us that we don't expect to happen. There's things that can go wrong. There's things that surprise you. Has anything ever happened in your career, a performance that sort of maybe caught you off guard but then you learned something from in the process?
Oh, just about every gig.
Every gig.
Yeah, I mean, there's always something. I mean, it can be something stupid like the gig I did a couple nights ago. They always had music stands. We show up, somebody stole all the music stands. So now I'm trying to read all these difficult parts and follow a conductor when my head is looking down here. And it's like, what did that teach me? I think I'll always carry a music stand with me. It's just I was carrying two instruments, so it was, because I also have this six-string bass, which is show it to you. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
So I have an endorsement with Music Man Guitars,
Yes, yes, I did know that.
and this is basically the scale is like a guitar, and it's tuned like a guitar, same, strings, but it's all tuned down an octave. So
Ah,
yeah, it's very, very cool, especially up in this upper range.
yeah, it's not coming through, but we could see it, the sound. But I mean, is there a video of you on YouTube or something playing that
No,
specific instrument?
actually, because I didn't get this that long. Oh, actually, there is a video. I just played this 2 nights ago, and that will be up on YouTube. I could send you the link once it's put up. Yeah, but the people I was playing with always put it up um, on YouTube. So
Yes,
yes,
if you send me the link, I'll definitely be able to share it on the Facebook page,
yeah, it's a very cool
specifically.
sound. It's I mean, that a lot of people play six-string basses now, but yeah,
And I
this
like I like how you mentioned that, always have a music stand with you. There was a place I used to play, a restaurant, where they were not very nice. They wouldn't even give me a chair to put my tip jar on. So I bought like a little stool you that compacts almost for like camping out.
yeah, yeah.
And it's just, we all go through these situations when we're playing that, musicians may not be treated the best they're treated, and there's Yeah, there's sacrifices you have to make, but that's just the journey, I suppose.
Yeah, you just never know. If you expect something's going to be one way, and you show up and it's. I remember one gig I did with Joe Lovano and Judy, which was supposed to be in a tent, and it was pouring rain so much that Joe was actually playing drums, and there's like this waterfall behind him, as we're playing. I mean, it was just crazy, but it was supposed to be this, and it was a beautiful tent, and everything was cool, but it was just nobody was expecting it to be a torrential downpour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's never what you're gonna think it's what it is.
Yeah,
And Bruce, I also, but before we wrap up, I wanted to get into to one more thing that I've been kind of curious about because you know you've written all these books and you have such a way to approach the guitar that it's like it almost seems like it's you don't have to if you're a student you're not going to have to second guess yourself. And it's sort of systematical in a way to learning the instrument.
yeah,
And sometimes growing as a musician means unlearning. And you talked about um, when you studied with Charlie, he told you, you need to stop doing some things. You know, at
yeah.
at this point, are you still like unlearning things, letting go of things to grow, or you're just kind of, you have your way of doing things. Like how any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm always finding new things, but I some of the major, things like technique and ear training and understanding theory and also understanding how theory and ear training go together. A lot of that stuff took me a very long time to figure out how it all makes sense and how to put it all together so that you can be the best musician you can be. So I think on that level, I've kind of got that down. But it took a very long time to get all that down. So now I'm kind of just blooming from that, I guess is what I would say. But back to what you're saying, it's super important, especially when people are starting out on an instrument, to get the right information. And unfortunately, one of the reasons I put out a lot of books was there's so much bad information out there that I wanted to put out the stuff that I knew that worked, that made it for, I don't consider myself to be a super talented, musician, but I got the right information to make myself the best I could be.
Mhm.
You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
no, yeah. I mean, and to give that back is tremendous. And you're someone I've always looked up to, and definitely an inspiration to many musicians out there. So I want to thank you for being here, and thank you for your time. And you're always welcome back on to talk. This podcast is just getting started, so just want to thank you so much for being here.
Oh yeah, sure. And I wish you the best with your podcast. And yeah, sure, we can talk again sometime.
Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate it.